My family didn't just try to control my life, they tried to take it away from me in front of 15 people, like I didn't even have a choice. I'm 30 years old, and 3 weeks ago, everything I thought I understood about my family completely shattered. It happened on Mother's Day, at a dinner that was supposed to be normal, predictable, the same routine I had gone through for years. I showed up at exactly 4 p.m., holding flowers and a cake I made myself, already bracing for the usual subtle judgments about my life, my job, my choices. The door opened. My mom took the flowers without even making eye contact, and before I could say anything, she rushed past me because my sister Meredith had just arrived. That's how it always was. Meredith didn't just enter a room, she became the center of it. Her kids ran inside laughing while my mom immediately picked them up, showering them with affection like they were the most important people alive. I stood there holding the cake, waiting for someone to acknowledge me, but no one did. I walked in quietly and placed the cake on the table like I was just another guest. Dinner started the same way it always did, with Meredith sitting in the center and me pushed to the edge like I didn't quite belong. Conversations flowed easily around me while I sat there listening, occasionally smiling, barely existing in the moment. At one point, my dad glanced at me and asked if I was doing okay. I said yes, and just like that, the attention disappeared again within seconds. It was nothing new, but that night felt heavier, like something bigger was building beneath the surface. Then Meredith tapped her glass, and the entire room fell silent instantly. She smiled, placed her hand on her stomach, and announced she was pregnant again. The room exploded with excitement. My mom started crying, saying it was everything she ever wanted. My dad looked prouder than I had ever seen him, and everyone began congratulating her like this was the greatest moment of their lives. I clapped softly, forcing a smile, but deep down I felt something shift, something uncomfortable that I couldn't explain yet. Then my dad turned his head slowly and looked directly at me, and in a calm, casual tone, he said, "You'll move in with them." Just like that. No question, no discussion, no pause. I thought I had misheard him. I blinked and asked what he meant, but before he could respond, my sister leaned forward with a smile like this had already been decided. She said they would need help, that with 3 kids it would be too much, and that I had the time anyway since I worked from home. Then she laughed lightly and said something that hit harder than anything else. "You don't really have anything going on, Sienna. This'll be good for you." Good for me? Like my life was something empty that needed fixing? I looked around the table at 15 people. Family members, relatives, people who had known me my entire life. And not one of them questioned it. Not one of them said, "Maybe you should ask her first." They all just accepted it like it was normal, like I didn't deserve a say in my own life. In that moment, I felt smaller than I ever had before, like I wasn't even a person to them, just a solution to a problem. I wanted to speak, I wanted to say no, but something stopped me, something heavy in my chest that made it hard to breathe. So instead, I nodded slowly, not because I agreed, but because I didn't trust myself to speak without breaking. Then I stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked out without saying a word. The silence behind me felt louder than anything they could have said. That night, my phone didn't stop buzzing. Messages from my mom telling me I embarrassed the family, calls from my sister saying I was overreacting, texts filled with guilt and pressure disguised as concern. I ignored all of them. For the first time in my life, I chose not to respond. The next morning, at exactly 7:15, my phone rang again from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something felt off, so I answered. A calm voice introduced himself as a police officer and said they had received a call about my well-being. My heart dropped instantly. He said someone in my family reported that I might be a danger to myself. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 10 minutes later, there was a knock on my door, and when I opened it, the officer stood there calmly, observing everything. My apartment was clean, quiet, completely normal. He asked a few questions, if I was okay, if I felt safe, if I needed help. I answered clearly, and after a few minutes, he nodded and said I seemed completely fine. Then he paused slightly and mentioned that false reports could have consequences. The moment he left, everything became clear. This wasn't concern, it was control. They weren't worried about me, they were trying to force me into something I never agreed to. That was the moment something inside me changed. Not anger, not sadness, but clarity. For the first time, I saw my family exactly as they were. Later that day, my dad called again and told me to be there on Sunday because the whole family would be present. Again, not asking, just telling. This time, I didn't argue. I simply said I would come. When Sunday arrived, everything looked the same. Same house, same table, same people acting like nothing had happened. My mom hugged me tightly in front of everyone, putting on a performance like everything was perfect. Then she stood up smiling and proudly announced that I had agreed to move in and help Meredith. Everyone looked at me, expecting me to confirm it, expecting me to play my role. But this time, I didn't stay quiet. I stood up slowly, feeling every eye on me, and for the first time in my life, I told the truth. I said I never agreed. The room went silent instantly. I continued and said I was told what to do, not asked. Faces shifted from confidence to confusion. Then I said something that made it even worse. I told them someone called the police on me. You could feel the tension in the air. No one spoke, no one moved. I looked directly at my mom, and she couldn't even meet my eyes. Then I said the final thing that needed to be said. I am not giving up my life to fix someone else's. My voice was calm, steady, and for the first time, strong. No one argued, no one interrupted, because deep down, they knew it was true. I didn't wait for a response. I picked up my bag and walked out without saying a word. The silence behind me felt louder than anything they could have said. That day, it felt like I told my family no for the first time, even though I had said it many times before. It took a week before anyone tried to reach out. No one apologized. No one admitted anything was wrong. Instead, my mom sent a message asking if I wanted to attend Meredith's baby shower. The shower was supposed to be in Texas, a 4-hour drive from my apartment. The first thought was, of course there wouldn't be a shower. Of course they would act like nothing had happened. I imagined the atmosphere, the compulsion of celebrating, the need to put on a happy face after everything. My mom's message was carefully crafted, filled with assumptions and a subtle pressure to conform. But the last sentence said, "We really want you to be there." Given my response, it wasn't quite clear if they wanted me or needed me. I felt another kind of distance growing between us, not only physical, but emotional as well, the feeling that I was slowly disappearing from their world. What should I do? I still felt anger and guilt, the intense desire to say no, and the equally intense desire to pretend everything was normal. I was tired of the fight. I was tired of the tension. But something, a part of me, also didn't want to completely separate from my family. This was my first big decision after coming back to the family. The outcome depended entirely on me. I could say yes and make them feel like I was there always, or I could say no and start a new conflict. In the end, I chose another completely different way. When Sunday arrived, I didn't go to Texas. Instead, I sent a carefully crafted, small package to Meredith. Inside was a tiny piece of jewelry, a simple card with a few words of congratulations. I didn't say anything. No apology, no explanation, just the gift. I left the message unread, left it at that. I knew they would wonder why I didn't go or even say anything, but at that moment, I felt that was the best way. I wasn't trying to completely separate myself, But I was also not pretending I hadn't been hurt. They understood that I was trying to show them that, while I cared about them, I also cared about myself. I was the choice I made in the room full of people who expected me not to. And that day, for the first time, I finally did.